Last week we heard from Benny telling us that hugely inspirational story of the establishment of First Priority. Benny, what I would really love is you just bring us up to date, because that was, what, 12, 13 years ago, maybe more, what you were telling us about. Amazing things have happened in America through First Priority since then. I know you don't like bragging, but just tell us honestly some of the incredible things the Lord's been doing.
Well, thanks again, Colin, and thanks for your investing in these young people and youth leaders all across Europe. And thanks for the opportunity to tell a little bit more of our story. We're trying to be obedient to God, just to hear His voice and to do the things He said. And so many times we get caught up in our traditions or our programs. And so I want to encourage everybody to never lose that edge of really seeking to God and hearing His voice for these new things. As our program grew in the first two cities that we began to learn this strategy of linking the churches together, uniting the churches around the cause of reaching the next generation. And then we began to explore together and plan together on how we could take the message of Christ to every student. We saw some amazing things happen. One of the key focuses, as we talked about last time, was in our schools, and we began to link the student leaders from the different churches in the community that went into the same schools, even private schools as well as our public school system. And we began to see these students literally fall in love with each other. So many times they would be discouraged as a Christian. We try to encourage them in the church, but when they would get outside the church and go into our schools and the community, they felt discouraged or overwhelmed in trying to live out their Christian faith. So we saw some amazing things happen when we brought these Christian students together. The way they encouraged one another, they began to hold each other accountable for living a life that honored Christ. And then they began to truly share their faith with their friends. We saw many times where a group of students would, of their own initiative, create an event either during a lunchtime period or before or after school, where these students would simply stand up, welcome their friends in a totally volunteer, non-threatening arena or setting, and they began to share their faith with their friends. And we saw hundreds and hundreds of young people come to Christ through these events. I know one school in particular in Arkansas. It's a state that's in the center of the United States, where in a junior high school, within a period of 6 months, a group of young people once a week would plan a gathering at their, we call them a middle school or a junior high. It's ages 12, 13, 14 that are in these schools. And we saw these students, young people, begin to create these arenas to gather, or venues to gather their friends together to simply, in love, share their faith. And where we saw over half of the school make a commitment to Christ through a 6-month period. And this was like a school of 600 students, and more than 300 of their friends committed their life to Christ. They began to put their faith in Jesus Christ through the witness of their young friends. And we've seen young people begin to pray and witness to their teachers, again, in a very loving, non-threatening, non-condemning way. We saw churches in cities come together. One city in particular, Birmingham, Alabama, that has been a very high-profile city for First Priority because so many churches engaged and came together. We saw it one time where the churches came together to put on an outreach event to one area of the city where over 15,000 students came, and thousands of those students at a time of giving the students a chance to respond to the gospel, where we saw thousands of students in one evening come forward trying with this emptiness in their hearts, and then letting Jesus Christ fill that emptiness, giving their lives to Christ. So we've seen this work in different sized cities. We've seen it work in different venues, in the large arenas, in small settings where a group of students would come together, all the way down to just one student sitting across from a friend and learning to share their faith in Christ and seeing people's lives change as they begin to give their hearts to Jesus Christ.
Thanks, Benny. That's amazing. In a couple of weeks' time, Benny's going to tell us how he can see this strategy being launched here in Europe. So thanks ever so much. We look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you.